Hey there, welcome back to another review, this time of the 2013 or 2014, which I'd rather call it 2014, but I guess I'll do 2013, even though it was only released one time at the Tribeca Film Festival in 2013. Didn't have a wider release in the UK or the US in 2013, but whatever. Anyway, the film I'm talking about is called The Machine. This is a movie that I was curious about mainly because it also features a female android or AI that's name is Ava and is also spelled with an A, by the way. It's the exact same spelling and deals with the same sort of ideas regarding AI, but it has a totally different approach. And I was like, I'm curious about it. And I wasn't that big of a fan of Ex Machina, so I decided, well, we'll give this a look, see how this is. And this movie, in my opinion, whipped Ex Machina's ass. This is definitely more of my type of film. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why. But in my opinion, I think it was a much more effective film, to be honest. It dealt with all the same concepts that Ex Machina was trying to talk about, but it did it in a shorter and more effective way. You had two Turing tests in the movie, but they were very short, they were to the point, and they weren't drug out to way too long. All you needed is two, all you needed, and it didn't explain what a Turing test is either. It was just one of those, here you go, figure it out for yourself. We don't need to explain what it is to you in like pages of dialogue. We don't need to do that. And I appreciated that. I really did. This film, in my opinion, also does a much better job of talking about what makes us human. And the reason why is because it actually has a lot of emotion in it. And believable emotion. Ex Machina might have been trying to have emotion, but it wasn't believable. Because the characters were so cold and unrelatable to me. This film, on the other hand, does a great job making you not only feel for man, but also for machine. And Ex Machina tries to do stuff like that, but it's not as effective because the robot is the machine in Ex Machina. Ava is interesting, but you know that there's something not right about this machine. And of course, the ending just makes this whole, Ex Machina, all right, the robot's kind of an asshole anyway, so okay. And I know what the whole thing is. The most human trait is the ability, is the will to survive, which I'm like, that's not really a human trait. That's a trait that animals have. That's a trait that most, if not every living thing has. So it's not really just a human trait. I guess you could say it's something that every living thing has, which makes sense. But okay, all right. But either way, I just think The Machine is a much better film than Ex Machina. It didn't get the it didn't get the acclaim and it didn't get the exposure that Ex Machina did. Ex Machina got a wider release. This didn't even get a theatrical release in the United States. It's a $1.5 million budget film, and at times it does look like that. But there's other times where it has visuals that are just as impressive as the visuals in Ex Machina, a film which cost $15 million to make. In fact, the visuals in this, I'm much more impressed with because of how low the budget was. There's a $1.5 million budget, and there are some visuals in this that are just really impressive for such a low budget. Some you can tell a little bit of wonky CGI, but Ex Machina had some wonky CGI too. That's a $15 million film. So, anyway, The Machine is a film that is directed by Caradog James, and I think it might be his directorial debut, and he also helped write the film. And I thought he did a good job directing the movie. I mean, there's some aspects of it, like a little bit too much lens flares for my tastes. Um, but I still liked it. The camera doesn't move around that much, so there isn't a lot of really inventive zoom ins or pans or anything like that. I mean, I think Alex Garland in some ways was a little bit better than Caradog was in this movie. But I still like this film more than Ex Machina because I was more involved with the story. The characters to me were so much better, especially Vincent. And basically he's our lead. And I even thought the machine itself, Ava in this, was a much more interesting machine as well. She had multiple different personalities. It was really interesting and fun to see her evolve. It's features music by Tom Raybould, which is fantastic. Tom Raybould's score is amazing. It's a really heartfelt, loving tribute to Vangelis's score from Blade Runner. This film reminded me more of Blade Runner than Ex Machina did, and at the same time, while it does do its own tribute to Blade Runner, it also has its own unique music that's just as memorable. This is probably one of the best scores I've heard recently. It's really impressive. If you really like 80s synth electronic scores, I highly recommend you listen to Tom Raybould's score from The Machine. I'm going to have a link in the video description down below uh, where you can just listen to, I think it's pretty much the end credits track, but you can listen to part of the score and see for yourself. It's features cinematography by Nikolai Bruhl. At points, it's really, really impressive. Like when the sequence when the machine is being built, and the sequence where the machine is dancing in an empty ballroom. Not really a ballroom, but it might as well be for her. It's a hangar. It's an empty airplane hangar. And some shots near the end and so forth and so on, with the sun in the background. But there were some other shots that it looks pretty dark and pretty dingy. But I think that's the point. That's what they're going for. But yeah, I would say the cinematography in Ex Machina is definitely a little bit better than the cinematography in this film. But this still had some good cinematography, don't get me wrong. The editing, I thought by Matt Platts Mills was effective. I mean, there wasn't any sort of clever editing or anything like that. But it was effective. Um, it was a workman's like job. It was nothing impressive, but it was good. Um, and yeah, I'm still surprised by that $1.5 million budget, what they were able to do. They had, the full, the machine, and it's, before it gets its skin, the skin put on it, you saw that. Um, the whole creation of the machine sequence, that was really impressive for a $1.5 million budget. All of the different, computer screens that were all like holograms. I thought that was really impressive. That's a little subtle thing that I thought was really impressive for a $1.5 million budget. That looked like stuff that you'd see in a big budget film. Simple stuff with just the contacts, or maybe with CGI, something they did with their eyes. So whenever the people with implants or the machine herself, you know, their eyes glow this really pale blue, and it's a really effective shot. It creates very striking visual imagery, especially when it's like in the dark and you just see these glowing eyes. And there's also other stuff like the production design I thought was pretty good too. I mean, they did a great job showing this facility and showing all these different parts of it, and even showing the world outside of it briefly, which gave the film a bigger size and scope. And because you saw like a city in the background while Vincent's driving around in his car, which totally reminded me of a scene from Blade Runner. And I'm pretty sure probably the score is probably one of the reasons why. Because it does remind me a lot of Blade Runner's score. But yeah, the film itself I thought looked really good for a $1.5 million budgeted film. The cast is really solid as well. You have Toby Stephens, who plays the lead. It's Vincent McCarthy. I really liked his performance. I thought he did an excellent job playing this role of a scientist who's grieving. He's grieving for the loss of his wife. He's dealing with his daughter who's sick. She has a brain injury. And so what he's doing, he's taking a huge risk and using the defense budget to try to create a new sort of technology that can help fix his daughter's brain. and and all the while he's also working on computer and artificial intelligence. That's kind of what he's doing this. He wants to use artificial intelligence in order to help fix his daughter. And these other people who need help too, who are also brain dead. And I really like that aspect of the script where you have these veterans, these military veterans, who are brain dead, who are given these implants that enable them to move and to function again, but with a side effect where they can't communicate like we do. They communicate in this garbled machine language, which only other people with implants and other people who are machines can understand. And it is kind of jarring though when they speak and when they have these conversations, and because there's no subtitles. But I guess I think I understand why the director did that. So you'd be as out of the loop as our human protagonist is. But at the same time, it's like it would be nice to have subtitles because there's a lot. There isn't just a brief thing in the film. There's a lot of machine talk. But that's just a little bit problem I have with the film. And so even in the beginning of the film, you really have this really intense sequence where he's working with this veteran who has that whole half of his head, right side of his head is caved in, and he basically experimented with this implants, and when something goes wrong, he goes crazy. He grabs something sharp and starts stabbing people, including Vincent. And he kills his assistants in a really bloody fashion too. Blood just sprays all over the control board and everything. So it's like the movie just starts off and it's like unflinching, in your face type violence. That's probably the most violent the film gets, though. I mean, because it kind of it tones itself down as the film goes on. But there definitely is some blood though, which was nice to see. There's actual blood in this, and it's like practical blood too. It's not like wimpy CGI whatever blood. It's practical blood. And when this machine hits people and hurts them, you feel it. It isn't wimpy. It isn't like the machines in Ex Machina. There's actually an impact, because you would think that the machines would be stronger, significantly stronger than man is, and that's the case here. So Vincent is working on this for the government because they're trying to see if they can create a new machine, a new AI that can help them stop this Cold War that is going on with China, which is something that really also makes this film very topical and also relatable, because instead of just having two conversations, a Turing test, of two super geniuses, and we have in a compound in the middle of nowhere, we have a global situation. And so Vincent, what he's trying to do is he's trying to create this AI, but he doesn't want it to be used for war, though. His boss, played by Denis Lawson, who is actually played by the same actor who plays Wedge Antilles in the Star Wars trilogy, in the original Star Wars trilogy. Yes, it's Wedge. And he's like, you've never seen him before. He's an asshole. But he's the type of asshole that you love to hate. Unlike Nathan, Oscar Isaac, in Ex Machina, I didn't love to hate that guy. I just thought he was a boring, one-note, one-dimensional villain character. This character, I know a lot of people probably think he's boring, one-note, one-dimensional, but to me, at least he's having fun with the role, and that's what makes it all the difference for me. It reminded me a lot of Dick Jones, Ronnie Cox from RoboCop. And he is really the despicable twat in this movie, Denis Lawson. And when he gets his comeuppance in the end, he definitely does deserve it. It's one of those crowd-pleasing moments, because the film did such a great job making you hate this guy. And then you also have Caity Lotz, who you might recognize her from the show Arrow, which I don't really watch. But she's really good in this for the most part. When she plays human Ava, who ends up becoming Vincent's new assistant, she's okay. I think maybe her delivery's it's all right. But when she plays the machine Ava that looks like the human Ava, she really knocks it out of the park. She does an amazing job playing this this machine. She really does act like a machine, and she does a great job showing the different stages of the evolution of this machine. She starts out like a newborn, reacting to everything and being all, baby-like, and she really does a great job with that. She doesn't know how to smile, and she does it effectively, and it doesn't look stupid like when Arnold tries to smile in Terminator or Terminator Genesis. I mean, T2 or Terminator Genesis. Because she can't smile, so she tries to do this. And it was actually a bit of kind of a nice little chuckle. I had a chuckle out of that scene because she's trying to smile, and, and and then Vincent's like, "What are you trying to do? Are you trying to smile?" I'm smiling. And it's like, "We'll work on that. Well, we're going to work on that." So I didn't mind that. And it was really nice to see that. It reminded me of the type of performance that I saw with Milo Jovovich in The Fifth Element as Lilu. The same exuberant emotion and energy. It was really nice to see because Caity Lotz just went all out. It was really fun to watch. Does take a little bit to get used to at first because she has this really high pitched sort of baby Barbie doll voice. But once you get used to that, it's fine. And then she evolves farther and becomes more and more like a normal adult, not like a baby, or at least a teenager or something like that, a young adult to adult. And then when she has her programming changed, or so you think, she acts more like a soldier, like a badass, an angel of destruction, because that's what Thompson wants her to be. And she does a great job with that too. So she plays three different aspects of this machine and does them all brilliantly. It was really impressive. It was even more impressive than Vikander. I mean, Vikander was really good as Ava in Ex Machina, but it was pretty much a one note performance. Here, she plays three different, you know, versions of an evolution of this machine, and she does them all really well. So yeah, she's a believable badass too. She does all her own stunts, and there's martial arts sequences in the film near the end which are effective, and she looks effective doing them. So yeah, I really like Caity Lotz in this. I thought she was fantastic. Um, there's a few other actors and actresses, but they don't have that much to do. I mean, there's this other guy, I think it might be this actor named Sam Hazeldine, who plays James, who's a veteran who lost his arms, but is using these prosthetic arms that Vincent built for him. And he's sort of he's a good guy. He helps them out near the end. I like the guy. I thought the guy did a pretty good job performance-wise. Uh, so yeah, so that's the cast. As for the plot, it's really pretty simple. I mean, it takes place in the future, like I said, amid a Cold War China, where scientists employed by the Britain's Ministry of Defense produce a cybernetic implant that allows brain-damaged soldiers to regain lost functions. Scientist Vincent McCarthy, played by Toby Stephens, sets up a cognitive test for soldier Paul Dawson, the recipient of the cybernetic implant. He ends up going crazy and ends up because he wants to see his mom. They won't let him, so he turns hostile. He kills the scientist, wounds McCarthy, apologizes to them, and then gets shot. That's the way the whole film opens up. Afterwards, Dawson's mother regularly protests at the base, though McCarthy denies that her son was ever there. McCarthy's research leads to a series of more stable cyborgs. Although they lose the capability for human speech, like was mentioned earlier, the cyborgs develop a highly efficient method of communication that they keep secret. After she demonstrates her latest work in artificial intelligence, McCarthy recruits Ava by promising her unlimited funds for her research. Thompson, played by Denis Lawson, the director, is suspicious of Ava's countercultural politics and sympathy for Dawson's mother, but he relents when McCarthy insists that she is the only one who can provide the necessary program for their latest project, a self-aware and conscious android. McCarthy plans to use this technology to help his daughter Mary, who suffers from Rett syndrome, a neurological disorder. When she finds out, Ava volunteers to help and McCarthy maps her brain. During a demonstration of cybernetic arms that provide superhuman strength, amputee soldier James whispers a cry to help for Ava, who becomes suspicious of the treatment of the wounded soldiers. After she goes exploring in the base, McCarthy sternly warns her to avoid causing trouble. The warning comes too late, and Thompson arranges to have her murdered by a Chinese agent who impersonates Dawson's mother. Grieved by the loss of Ava, McCarthy insists that they use her brain scan and likeness for the new project, whom they dub Machine. The Machine turns out to be more human than they expected or even wanted, and she shows regret when she accidentally kills another human and refuses orders that violate her sense of morality. As Thompson's demands on her grow, more at odds with her morality, Machine becomes increasingly distressed and asks McCarthy to protect her. An antagonism grows between Thompson and McCarthy. Thompson promises that he will relent and McCarthy can prove that the Machine is alive. After Mary dies, Thompson uses her brain scans as leverage against McCarthy. That's how much of an asshole he is, threatening to destroy the scans unless McCarthy excises the Machine's consciousness. The Machine, who's come to love McCarthy, offers to sacrifice herself for Mary, and he removes a chip from the Machine's head. Thompson reneges on his deal. He pulls back on his deal and orders the Machine to kill McCarthy, and decides that he's going to destroy his daughter's brain map just because. Why not? Because I'm an asshole and I can do it. But really, he actually had a reason to, because this film does a good job showing you, okay, the good and the bad. It shows you a good job explaining both sides of the argument. Why Thompson wants to use the Machine as a weapon of destruction, as a weapon of war. Well, it's more effective than human soldiers. There's less loss of life, and the war can end faster. Win-win. Vincent, on the other hand, he doesn't want the Machine to do that. He wants the Machine to do grander things, to do bigger things, to help with advancements in technology and things like that, and medicine and things like that. They don't have to do with war. And there's a pros and cons for both of those. And even Thompson has a good quote in the film, which is pretty much what I mean. This is a quote that Ex Machina just tried to stretch out to multiple lines of dialogue. This is all you really need. Thompson says, "Conscious machines are the last thing we need. Have you any idea how dangerous that would be?" He's got a point. It really is pretty dangerous. And then even Vincent is talking to the Machine earlier and asking her, she says that I'm alive, and he's asking questions like, how do I know that you're alive, and not just a clever imitation of life? So there's some big questions like that in this movie, but it's not too much. It's just enough. That's all you need. Enough to get you to start thinking, but not too much to overload your brain. There's no intellect wanking in this. This is just straight and simple and to the point, and gets across the same points that Ex Machina does, and does it so much more effectively because they do it in such a more effective way that pretty much anyone can understand. Not just people who read books about robotics and who are intellectual types. This can be a message that can be understood by everybody. And, maybe that's the big reason why I like this film, is because it has those big ideas, but it presents them in a way that I can really understand. So, yeah, so the Machine is then starting to act more like, a military, engine of destruction type thing. It's cold, and pretty much what happens is after, you're made to believe that after the chip is removed that she's, her consciousness is gone, and now she's just Thompson's new war toy. And so he orders the Machine to kill McCarthy. The Machine seems to first obey because they, kidnap him, and the Machine pulls the trigger, but there's no bullets. It's just a test. But then, then it goes a different way, because then a scientist alerts Thompson that the operation was a sham and it only failed to disable the failsafe routines designed to destroy the Machine. And then I love it when he tells Thompson that he looks at the machine and she's looking at Thompson on this view screen, you know, because she's looking at the video camera, and then she smiles. She's just like, it's like, oh, it's like, holy shit, here we go. It's odd. And then like the last 15 minutes is just a bunch of fun action. She's kicking ass, taking names. People trying to shoot her. She's fucking them up. She decides to go in and get Vincent's computer program, you know, his daughter's brain map. So she goes in to go after it. Vincent destroys the supercomputer, and she also gets the help of the other veterans who had the implants. Comes to a little bit uprising of sorts. And the cyborgs, you know, the machine and the cyborgs rebel against the humans, and they free McCarthy. They free Vincent. And from his computer console, Thompson disables half the cyborgs, you know, half the humans with the implants. But Suri, yep, they went there. His cyborg aide overrides his access before he can kill the rest. Thompson shoots and wounds Suri, but the machine corners him in his office, wounded. And then he first orders her to obey and begs for his life, which I really thought was really cool. And because he's like, "Don't kill me. You don't need to kill me." And then the machine agrees not to kill him. It's like, "I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna make you dead inside like you did to me, tried to do to me." And then it looks like she like crushes his head in. So it says like she lobotomized him, but really what it is, she just like goes in like really hard force and like crushes in two sides of his head. So pretty much killed him. It lobotomized him in a way, I guess, but she pretty much kills him. It looks like she pops his eyes in, really. And so after leaving Thompson for dead, the machine then downloads Mary's brain scan. The machine, McCarthy, and Suri then escape the base outside. McCarthy hands the base records to Dawson's mother, and then leaves to start a new life with the machine. And in the final scene, which is a very bittersweet happy ending, and probably the happiest ending that this film could possibly have, McCarthy talks to a computer visualization of his daughter, and she requests to play a game with her mother. McCarthy hands the tablet to the machine, and then she is shown gazingly alternately at the device and at a beautiful orange sunset over the Atlantic Ocean. And then you zoom in on Vincent, and you can just see a look of worry and despair on his face because he's realizing that his daughter, her memories and her brain map is on this computer, but she's very quickly starting to not even really connect with him anymore. She wants to be with her mother, who is a machine, like in a way like she is. So it poses a more terrifying question to me. It's this ending to me was more thought provoking, more terrifying than the ending of Ex Machina. Ending of Ex Machina, machine blends into society. Okay, all right, what's gonna happen? This, in Ex Machina, in a way you could say she forced herself into society. Ava. In this film, man willingly stepped aside and let the machine into our world. What's going to happen? What's going to happen now? Man's more than likely going to become obsolete because man can't evolve as quickly and as much as the machine can. There's so much good that the AI can do and so much good that the machine can do, but it's at the price of humanity being let's just say, the driving force on this earth. We will no longer be the number one race. We will no longer be the most intelligent race on earth. We will be the second most intelligent, and in some ways probably pretty dumb compared to these machines. But I think that's a really gripping and powerful way to end the film. It's got this beautiful sunset and there's a happy ending, but really it's like, is this really a good thing? Like, now, you have your daughter, you have her memories, you have her brain on this computer, but is it really your daughter? What makes your daughter your daughter? Is it her memories? Is it her brain? Or is it a soul? And if they don't, if it's not a human soul, then how can it can't connect with you? She doesn't connect with you the same. So there's going to be this disconnect between man and machine. And will the machine eventually evolve to the point where it realizes that man is obsolete and no longer needs it? I mean, that's the thing. But it's more terrifying to me that, and more plausible, that we would willingly let the machine into our lives versus the machine forcing itself into our lives by force. Just the idea of man letting the machine into our world and into society and into, everything, onto this earth, and knowing that it will continue to evolve while man will be multiple steps behind it. So it's one of those things, the machine will make all kinds of progress, and man will just stay stagnant, and man will not evolve unless maybe the man that's the machine meld with it or something. So then you have, like, a new form of evolution. So it's what it kind of, I thought it was more thought provoking, interesting than anything Ex Machina was any of the questions that Ex Machina was asking. So, but that's just me personally. Um, I really don't know what to say about this film except I really liked this. I really liked The Machine. I thought it was a fast-paced film for the most part. I didn't find it boring because I was actually interested in the characters. They were relatable and likable. The performances I thought, were genuinely actually really good. Uh, I love the score. I think the direction is solid. The story I thought was pretty good. I liked it. Uh, Nathan's a character. I mean, not Nathan, Vincent. Nathan's a character. I want to talk about Nathan. Nathan's a character that I don't relate to. Nathan's a character. He's the typical creator who's an asshole. And I really thought it was really refreshing that Vincent wasn't that. He wasn't an asshole. He was a likable character. He was a guy who's trying to make ends meet, trying to help, fix his daughter, and things didn't work out. But he's trying to think for the better humanity. Because if you think about it, it's better that the AI is let into our world with its own consciousness and its own way of thinking than being just programmed to be nothing but a killing machine. Because then eventually the AI would probably, if it's smart enough, once it evolves enough, would probably then move past just the killing, for orders, and start killing everybody because, we're ineffective and so forth and so on. And the AI could still do that, but this AI has a conscience. And it seems at least like this AI seems to care for Vincent. So in the same way, it also cares for humanity. So there might be a way in the future that the AI, instead of trying to replace us, would help us. I think that's actually pretty cool. And but yeah, there's always that alternative where the AI would replace us, but at the same time, maybe the AI would respect us and love us and appreciate us, and then try to help us out. That would be, but who knows? I mean, that's the kind of thing that the kind of questions this film asks. I love how Nathan's a loving father. I mean, not Nathan. Nathan's an asshole. God damn it! I was trying not to do that. Nova Vincent is a loving father, and he's also a father of creation, and he's also a father of potential destruction, which is something that is multiple different facets to his character. And I thought that Stephens did a really good job playing the role, and Caity Lotz is phenomenal as Ava, especially when she's playing just the machine. And Denis Lawson was a good villain, and yeah, I really liked the film. I thought it was really good for the most part. I really don't know what to say about the film except it was a rated out of 5 stars. 4.5, because the only problems I had with it were some of the lens flares, some kind of stale cinematography. Editing was just, it was there, it was competent, but nothing spectacular. And there's action in it, but you could add a little bit more at some points. But other than that, I still really liked this film. I thought it was a really good movie. I think this film deserves a lot more attention than it gets. I really do. I really, really do. I don't understand why Ex Machina gets like all the attention and all the praise, and this film is just pretty much just thrown in a junk heap and nobody talks about it and it's forgotten about, and it gets like a rating that's like almost 2 times as low as Ex Machina. I don't see why this film is, if anything, even if I did like Ex Machina, this would be as good. But I didn't like Ex Machina, so I really like this a lot more. I thought it was a much better film. It was had a better pacing, better characters. I thought the story was more interesting and more engaging. Um, it has a lot of things that you want out of a science fiction thriller. Characters you relate to, good pacing, uh, decent special, pretty solid visual effects, a great score. Um, it asks questions about life and about humanity and about, AI, but does it in a way that doesn't seem pretentious. And it's got some crowd pleasing moments as well. Decent bits of action at the end. It's got a little bit of everything. So anyway, yeah, I really like this one. Anyway, thank you for watching my review of The Machine, and I will see you guys later. See ya.